Abstract, the Latino population is the fastest growing group in the United States. Thus, it is imperative that social workers and other mental health practitioners be knowledgeable about the current literature on how to effectively serve this population. This article elucidates key issues and knowledge, such as immigration and migration concerns, discusses how to assess for levels of acculturation, examines cultural values, and highlights salient work issues and health disparities that Latinos experience. Recommendations on how agencies and universities can recruit and promote bilingual practitioners are introduced. Finally, culturally responsive strategies for professional use of self and fostering the therapeutic alliance are discussed. Keywords: cultural competence, Hispanics, Latinos, practice. As Latinos become a larger proportion of the U.S. population, there is a greater need for social work education to provide culturally sensitive training to social work students. Furman, Bender, Lewis, and Shears, 2006, Evilhart and Becerra, 1995. Latinos have become the largest minority population in the United States. Estimates are that by the year 2050, nearly 1/4 of the U.S. population, or 102.6 million individuals, will be of Latino origin. U.S. Census Bureau, 2006. In a recent study, nearly 90% of graduate social work faculty either agreed or strongly agreed that preparing students for culturally sensitive practice with Latinos is important. Furman, 2002. Yet, in the same study, only 40% of the faculty believed that students were prepared for practice with this population. The discrepancy between the importance of providing services to Latinos, given their growing numbers, and the preparedness of social workers for serving this population is alarming. This is especially glaring when one considers that Latinos are at risk for various psychosocial maladies, including poverty. Prillo and Lucas, 2003, low educational attainment. Prillo and Lucas, 2003, mental health concerns. McGowan, 1988. Padilla, Ruiz, and Alvarez, 1989. Vega and Amaro, 1998. Substance abuse, Hernandez and Lucero, 1996. Health, Fischella, Franks, Dosker, and Saver, 2002. Grantmakers in Health, 2003, and Exposure to Violence, Peacock, McClure, and Agars, 2003. Consequently, the confluence of these factors, Hansen and Austin, 2003, along with racism and systemic barriers for people of color, creates limited life opportunities for some Latinos. Culturally competent social work practice with Latinos is crucial for ensuring effective access for and treatment delivery to this population. The importance of cultural competence is underscored in the NASW, 1996, Code of Ethics. According to 1996, culturally competent practice focuses on the need for a general sensitivity to cultural factors that may influence clients. Being sensitive to cultural variables can be conceptualized as holding a cultural lens to human behavior and making allowances for the possibility of cultural influence. However, to avoid stereotyping, it is important that the clinician recognize the existence of within-group differences as well as the influence of the client's own personal culture or values. Cultural competence is then aspirational at best. Caldwell, Iwamoto, Tarver, and Hertzberg, 2006, and requires the continuous development of practitioners' cultural sensitivity, awareness, knowledge, and skills. This article explores key areas of knowledge related to working with Latinos. Although various approaches to culturally competent and sensitive practice have been debated, the importance of understanding the social context and practice realities of a population is often underscored. This article provides an overview of the general knowledge needed by social workers to work more effectively with their Latino clients. Knowledge for working with Latinos. We must increase our cultural competence by recognizing gaps in knowledge and making efforts to address them. In developing our knowledge and skills, we must always consider how well students are incorporating knowledge and understanding of both the distinctive cultural patterns and disadvantaged status of Latinos into their work. Gutierrez, Yecli, and Ortega, 2000, page 555. In what follows, we explore several of the key knowledge areas that are important in work with Latinos. It should be noted that social workers who work with this population will need to work constantly toward developing their knowledge base about the shifting social dynamics of Latinos here and abroad. For instance, the recent health concerns of Cuba's President Fidel Castro demonstrated the complex social and political feelings Cuban Americans have about their historic homeland, heterogeneity. It is important to recognize that Latinos are not a homogeneous group. In fact, it can be argued that the very concept of a singular Latino identity or ethnic group affiliation is problematic. A diverse group of national origins is represented by Latinos living in the United States, with the majority of that group being of Mexican origin. Other national origins include Puerto Rico, Cuba, Colombia, and Brazil, among many others. The cultural and ethnic backgrounds of Latinos are also diverse and include Spanish, Aztec, Mayan, Incan, and Caribbean. Latinos may be of Native American, white, and African American racial or ethnic background. Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, 2006. Furthermore, within the Spanish language, variation exists in diction, speech patterns, vocabulary, and vernacular usage, each unique to a region of origin. Subtle tones in the voice may have different meanings within different Latino cultures. For example, it is not uncommon in the Puerto Rican culture to speak loudly, and this is often interpreted as yelling by those not familiar with the culture. Kavanaugh and Lopez, 2004. An understanding of these differences is extremely relevant to practice work with this population. However, it is also important to understand that there are commonalities amongst many Latinos in the United States. Transmigration, migration from Mexico to the United States, has been cited as one of the largest mass movements of people in the world. Escobar Latapete, 1999. The disparity of wealth between the United States and Mexico makes the transnational space of the U.S.-Mexico border a particularly high-risk social welfare area. Consequently, because of the political climate and environmental conditions, poor, and undocumented migrants are often rendered socially and politically vulnerable. Sasson, 2002. Among this migrant population, labor trans migrants are distinguished from traditional labor migrants. According to Prizes, 2004 migrant typology, immigrants and traditional migrants stop moving between boundaries over time, whereas trans migrants continuously move to different places, countries, and cultures for economic reasons. This often leads to a lack of a long-term residential base. Labor trans migrants then, much like labor migrants, experience being treated as a reserve of flexible labor, outside the protection of labor safety, health, and minimum wage and other standards, and are easily deportable. Taryn, 2001, page 7. But they may also have additional stressors owing to their unique, transnational lifestyles, moving back and forth between Mexico and the United States. Even as trans migrants face the traditional problems faced by many migrant populations, such as poverty, long hours of physical work, and discrimination, they must also contend with a range of other psychosocial stressors that act as powerful multipliers. Nagy and Furman, in Press, Social Isolation, and Minimal Social and Emotional Support. The high potential for social isolation in trans migrants may be a factor that contributes to the development of high antecedents to distress. Trans migrants' lack of long-term residential bases, and their consistent back and forth activities across borders and away from family, may inhibit their capacity to create positive social support networks that can ameliorate distress. This lack of social and emotional support may force trans migrants to rely solely on themselves to manage their stress. Subsequently, the culmination of stressors associated with constantly having to adapt to unfamiliar environments, work-related stress, and lack of social and emotional support may take a psychological and physical toll on many trans migrants. Immigration policies may also affect the stressors associated with transmigration. Undocumented labor trans migrants may experience fear and insecurity regarding their legal status in their receiving country. Negative interaction with border officials may further exacerbate distress. For example, Mexican migrants have been reported to experience altercations with and discrimination from U.S. and Mexican border officials. Escobar Latipi, 1999. Such negative interchanges with border officials may be a stronger concern to trans migrants because they repeatedly cross national borders. Acculturation. Acculturation is one of the most commonly studied adaptation variables and has been defined as the changes experienced by an individual as a result of being in contact with other cultures. Torres and Rolock, 2004. Acculturation is viewed as one of the key variables that practitioners need to take into consideration when working with Latino populations. Miranda Billet, Peluso Berman, and Van Meek, 2006, Taylor, Beatriz Gamborg, Rivera, and Laureano, 2006. Acculturation is a dynamic process and has been measured in multiple ways. Generally, acculturation has been measured in terms of behavior, cultural identity, knowledge, language, and values. Zia, Asnerself, Berman, and Buki, 2003. These aspects, then, are critical components in understanding and addressing factors that cause intercultural conflict and distress related to adapting to a new culture. There are numerous models of acculturation. A unidimensional model of acculturation suggests that one's cultural orientation is inversely related to another. That is, the more acculturated one is to culture A, the less orientated one is to culture B. Akagaki and Bojcic, 2002. A bidimensional model assumes that cultural orientations are independent of one another, such that one may adhere to a number of different acculturative schemas. Padilla, 2006. In contrast, individuals of marginalized status, Berry, 1980, may not identify with the culture of either their ancestral or their host country. Individuals who adopt and integrate the values, beliefs, and behaviors of both the host culture and their ancestral culture are considered to be bicultural, despite the growing body of literature on acculturation among Latinos. The relationship between acculturation and distress remains complex. Torres and Rolock, 2004. For example, one study by Kaplan and Marks, 1990, indicated that as levels of acculturation increased, distress was also significantly increased in young adults but decreased in older adults. These patterns were found to be consistent for both men and women and were independent of the effects of income and education. The authors hypothesized that alienation and discrimination may yield higher levels of psychological distress among highly acculturated young adults as they distance themselves from their ethnic and cultural identities and social supports. As these young adults grow into adulthood, however, they may continue to develop a more full, more positive ethnic identity and connection to their ethnic community, thereby restoring positive mental health. It should be underscored that a simplistic understanding of the concept of culture, for example, high versus low acculturation, may lead to weak explanations of health disparities and deflect focus from structural constraints such as racism and lack of access to resources. Abrito Lanza, Armbruster, and Flores, 2006. The workplace and job satisfaction. Ecological factors that could be salient to Latino clients are issues surrounding work satisfaction and conditions. Latinos make up the largest percentage of what is considered the working poor in the United States. Acevedo, 2005. The Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Reconciliation Act, PRWORA, of 1996, PL 104-193, created programs focused on employment and moving people off of welfare, instead of education or training, and required that an individual be either working or seeking work to receive assistance. This, combined with the fact that each state was given flexibility in the administration of assistance, had a negative effect on the Latino population. As described by Acevedo 2005, the behavior of Latinos is generally similar to that of what is perceived as the American middle class, meaning that many believe in a strong work ethic and that Latino children are more likely than other minority children to live in a two-parent household. Therefore, the theory that people can work themselves out of poverty was not applicable to Latino families Acevedo discussed, who were working but not being paid a living wage, because some recent Latino immigrants and migrants do not possess job skills other than those required to perform menial labor. and they as a group have low education levels. Securing employment with an acceptable income has often been difficult for them. Because welfare recipients are required to work to receive assistance, there are no opportunities for additional training or education, meaning they are often relegated to low-paying jobs and, consequently, trapped in poverty. Acevedo, 2005. Existing research further indicates that Latinos may have lower rates of job satisfaction because of systemic racism experienced at work. The literature indicates there is a relationship between job satisfaction and race. According to Sinek-Organ's 1998 study, job satisfaction is often dependent on the race of an employee. That is, racial and ethnic minorities are more likely to be targets of discrimination than are their Anglo-American counterparts. For ethnic minorities, race-related stressors and work-related stressors have been found to be inversely related to job satisfaction. Holder and Vox, 1998. That is, the more race-related stress one experiences, the less satisfied one is with one's job. Minority men and women tend to have more disparate, or gendered and racialized, work experiences than do their Anglo-American counterparts. Mom, 1999. Reported that minorities are often passed over for promotions, largely because of racial and gender biases. The glass ceiling then negatively affects job satisfaction in Latinos and has a substantial impact on turnover intentions. Foley, Kidder, and Powell, 2002. In sharp contrast, research indicates the presence of a glass escalator for white men, or the privileged, whereby white men have the luxury of not being negatively evaluated because of their race. All of this underscores the significance of race to employment and satisfaction, and these are issues that should not be avoided by the practitioner. Mohm, 1999. Health disparities and concerns. According to Norris and Alegria, 2005, non-white groups are more likely to delay seeking mental health services until symptoms are severe. Furthermore, minority groups are not likely to seek specialized mental health services but, rather, tend to get help from a primary care clinic or an informal support system. There are several reasons for underutilization of mental health professionals by Latinos. One is the lack of culturally competent providers. Schwartzbaum, 2004. Miscommunication between the client and provider can then often lead to misdiagnosis, confusion related to treatment options, and incorrect prescription of medications. Mistrust of the healthcare system is another reason Latinos and those in other minority groups may not seek services. Latino patients are more likely than white patients to feel that a provider has judged them unfairly. Schwartzbaum, 2004. This, in combination with the stigma generally associated with mental health concerns, lowers their likelihood of seeking out appropriate treatment and services. Competent mental health services for Latinos and other minority groups consequently need to be easily accessible, have more flexible hours, address comorbidities, be perceived as credible, provide realistic referrals to other services, combine physical care with mental care, elicit feedback from clients and patients, and be staffed by bilingual and compassionate professionals. Norris and Alegria, 2005. Social welfare systems, traditional and non-traditional helping. The U.S. welfare system is based on a philosophy that frequently conflicts with Latino values and culture. Acevedo, 2005. Most welfare programs emphasize individualism and personal responsibility and do not address patterns of discrimination or oppression that have been prevalent throughout history. By focusing on the individual, as it does, the U.S. welfare system often overlooks the needs of the family as a whole and places an individual in the first available job. Another barrier for Latinos seeking assistance is a language-based one. PRWORA indirectly limited the eligibility of certain legal immigrant groups. If a Latino applying for aid was not completely proficient in English, the caseworker would assume he or she was not eligible for assistance. Because of the low number of Spanish-speaking caseworkers, Latino clients who did not bring an interpreter with them were either sent away without receiving services or ended up waiting up to 4 times longer for assistance than English-speaking applicants. Acevedo, 2005. In a study conducted by Church, Gross, and Baldwin, 2005, that investigated the welfare system, Latinos were disproportionately represented among reported and substantiated cases. The same study also concluded that Latino children are taken into custody and their parents' rights terminated more frequently, suggesting that Latino children are assessed and removed from the home at a faster rate than are white children. Church et al. 2005 concluded that the lack of cultural awareness among child welfare staff adversely affected the population being served. Workers systematically perceived younger Latino children to be at a greater risk than white children, suggesting a belief that Latino families are less capable in providing care. On a social work practice level, the lack of available services for Spanish-speaking undocumented migrants is highly problematic. Clients are often forced to navigate complex systems of bureaucracy to meet their basic needs. The social welfare needs of clients may be left unmet without the availability of adequate numbers of Spanish-speaking social service providers who can assist them in negotiating these systems. The constrained social services provided to this population pose an ethical dilemma for social work professionals, whose code of ethics mandates the provision of services to vulnerable populations. Accordingly, social service agencies must actively recruit and retain Spanish-speaking social service providers. Nagy and Furman in Press highlighted several strategies that can foster this process. Financial compensation for multilingual ability can be used in recruitment efforts. Once they have been hired, retaining Spanish-speaking providers is equally important. Spanish-speaking providers may have higher antecedents to attrition because of increased caseloads and less available resources. Social service agencies can minimize attrition through active support of the Spanish-speaking provider. This support can be provided through a supervisory relationship that allows for debriefings on difficult cases and provides a venue in which feelings of frustration can be vented, promoting psychological well-being. Social work schools can further contribute in the increase of Spanish-speaking professionals in the social services workforce. According to Council on Social Work Education, 1998, statistics, only 3% of MSW graduates are Latinos. Universities should actively recruit students who, in addition to the required criteria for admission, have linguistic ability in Spanish. Values. The Mexican cultural value of collectivism and communal orientation has the potential to serve as a protective factor in mitigating distress. The Mexican collectivist cultural value entails mutual empathy, deference to group interest over individual interests, and conformity to group expectations, providing a sense of belonging and respect to the individual. Holleran and Waller, 2003. Cabrera and Padilla, 2004, indicated that the presence or lack of a strong family support system may influence the motivation to participate in community and overcome extreme poverty. Similarly, Sale et al., 2005, underscored the importance of family relationships and connectedness for Latino populations and identified it as a protective factor against substance use and abuse. Consequently, solid family and community cohesion serve as mediators of, or can potentially attenuate, the effects of communal risk factors that lead to psychological distress, for example, depression, anxiety. For example, research indicates that strengthening family relationships for young Latinas has a stronger effect of reducing or delaying substance abuse than it does for young Latino men. Sale et al., 2005. This underscores the importance of culturally appropriate family systems interventions, including the integration of values such as familisimo, with Latino clients. Miranda et al., 2006. Skills. The skills needed for culturally competent social work practice are predicated on an understanding of the knowledge and values explored in this article and an understanding of the applicable core values of the profession. Harper and Lance, 1994, developed an approach to culturally sensitive practice that seeks to transcend cultural variables. They identified 8 cross-cultural factors that applied to practice with all cultures: respect for the client's worldview, the importance of hope, helper attractiveness, such as warmth, genuineness, and compassion. Techniques designed to empower clients, enabling them to feel control over their lives and their environment. Rites of initiation, defined as rituals designed to cope with life stage transitions. Cleansing experiences, that is, rituals designed to eliminate unwanted emotions. And existential realization, that is, helping a client search for meaning. Although these factors are common to all cultures, the manner in which they are expressed is idiosyncratic within different cultures. In turn, Furman and Collins, 2005, posited a social constructionist model of culturally competent practice in which social workers are encouraged to understand the worldviews of their clients and understand how these worldviews may vary between and among different cultural groups. Although various authors have offered different foci for culturally sensitive work, all have pointed to the necessity of training social workers in skills, values, and knowledge for working with a specific population. Arredondo, 1999, Asamoah, 1996. Hops, 1988, Poole and Salgado D. Snidner, 2002, Sue, Arredondo, and McDavis, 1992. Professional use of self, social work practice, with Latinos demands a careful examination of the self and an understanding of how social workers' own worldviews and status vis-a-vis the dominant society affect their practice with Latinos. Clinicians therefore need to be aware of their own biases and how their worldview affects their conceptualization of a client. For example, if a clinician holds a worldview that values individualism, she or he should critically assess how to approach a client with collectivist worldview. Practitioner self-awareness is critical and involves the development of knowledge regarding cultural heritage and the potential effects of racial and cultural background and history on work with clients. Sue et al., 1992. On a related note, it is important that social workers understand how social class and classism can influence how therapy is directed. Liu and Ali, 2005. Therefore, awareness of personal biases and perspectives, as well as acceptance of the fact that they have biases, can enhance social workers' effectiveness in working with clients who come from ethnic and racial backgrounds that are different from their own. Sue and Sue, 1990. It is critical that both white and non-white practitioners understand the dynamic of race within the therapeutic process. Research indicates that white Americans generally do not spend much time thinking through white privilege and their belonging to the white racial group. In sharp contrast, many ethnic and racial minority clients often prefer to see ethnically and racially similar practitioners. Lum, 1986. This preference could indicate the need for more culturally competent practitioners. In fact, ethnic and racial minorities have high rates of underusing services, often related to a lack of multiculturally competent practitioners. Atkinson, Morton, and Sue, 1998. This potential barrier to services highlights the importance of training practitioners who are able to effectively work with a diversity of clients. Clinicians who differ from their clients ethnically or racially can then be more effective when they take a less dominant role, enabling them to better understand their client's cultural perspective. Hall and Maloney, 1983. For example, white clinicians should be aware of how their white privilege may have affected them. Also, clients may be leery of white professionals as a result of perceived and experienced discrimination. Hence, clinicians who acknowledge the power differential and attempt to understand their client's worldview, Ibrahim, Roycerker-Sodowski, and Anishi, 2001, and experiences with discrimination may be able to build a stronger therapeutic alliance. The process of racial identity development in ethnic and racial minority populations generally involves reconciling ethnicity and race in a predominantly white society. Alvarez and Helms, 2001. Building a working alliance. As stated, many Latinos value close, intimate personal relationships. However, Latinos also value the role of the professional and tend to adopt a traditional doctor-client relationship with social workers, especially at the beginning of the helping relationship. During his first social work position after graduating with an MSW, Rich Furman was frequently referred to as doctor by Puerto Rican clients in a substance abuse program, even after he made it clear that he did not hold a PhD, thereby ascribing credibility to education, social status, and the valuing of professional deference. However, it is also important to understand that many Latino clients may want to know basics about the familial life of the social worker. Social workers must understand that this is not an issue of professional boundaries. Family is often central to the worldview of Latinos in that it is difficult to view an individual outside of the family context. Consequently, appropriate personal disclosure by the social worker allows the client to better understand the clinician as a person within the context of a family, cultivating the working alliance. Finally, during the first session, it is important to explain the counseling and treatment plan to demystify and destigmatize the process. Schwartzbaum, 2004. Moreover, in the first session, the social worker needs to foster the therapeutic alliance by conveying warmth and trust, Taylor et al., 2006, or personalismo, which is defined as an approach to interpersonal relationships in which closeness is expected, people are valued over things, and interpersonal characteristics are emphasized over individual achievements. Bean, Waddell, and Perry, 2001, page 50. Conclusion: the Latino population is the largest group in the United States. Thus, it is imperative that social workers and other mental health practitioners be knowledgeable about the current literature on how to effectively serve this population. This article adds to the social work literature by providing a current literature review on key cultural variables, issues, and strategies that will help promote culturally responsive services to this population. Specifically, this article highlights key factors, based on the literature, that should be assessed for, such as immigration and migration concerns, work experience, acculturation, and health disparities experienced by the Latino population. Finally, we provide recommendations on how to recruit bilingual practitioners, elucidate biases that practitioners may have, and offer culturally appropriate approaches that will foster the therapeutic alliance with Latino populations. Contributor information: Rich Furman, Director of Social Work and Associate Professor, Social Work, University of Washington, Tacoma, Box 358,425, 1900 Commerce Street, WCG 203A, Tacoma, WA. Nalini Junko Negi, Assistant Professor, School of Social Work, University of Maryland, Baltimore. Derek Kenji Iwamoto, Research Fellow, Division of Prevention and Community Research, Yale University School of Medicine. Diana Rowan, MSW Coordinator and Lecturer, Department of Social Work, University of North Carolina at Charlotte. Allison Shuckraft, Charlotte, NC. Jennifer Gragg, Charlotte, NC. Article information. SOCWork. Author manuscript, available in PMC 2010 APR 30, published in final edited form as SOCWork 2009 APR 54-2, 167-174, doi. 10.1093 SW54, 2, 167. MSID, PMC 2,861,823, NIMSID, NIMS 194,082, MID, 19,366,165. Rich Furman, PhD, MSW, Nalini Junko Negi, PhD, MSW, Derek Kenji Iwamoto, PhD, Diana Rowan, PhD, MSW. Allison Shuckraft, MSW, and Jennifer Gragg, MSW, Rich Furman, Director of Social Work and Associate Professor, Social Work, University of Washington, Tacoma, Box 358,425, 1900 Commerce Street, WCG 203A, Tacoma, WA. Contributor information: Rich Furman, U. Not Nasayu at Namrafker, copyright notice. The publisher's final edited version of this article is available at SOCWork. References: 1. Abrito Lanza AF, Armbrister AN, Flores KR. Toward a theory-driven model of acculturation in public health research. American Journal of Public Health 2006. 96:1342, 1346. PMC free article, PubMed, Google Scholar. 2. Acevedo y the Latina Paradox, Cultural Barriers to the Equitable Receipt of Welfare Services Under Modern Welfare Reform. Berkeley Journal of Gender, Law, and Justice 2005. 20:199-215, Google Scholar. 3. Alvarez A., Helms J. Racial Identity and Reflected Appraisals as Influences on Asian Americans' Racial Adjustment. Cultural Diversity and Ethnic Minority Psychology 2001. 7:217-231, PubMed, Google Scholar. 4. Arredondo P. Multicultural Counseling Competencies as Tools to Address Oppression and Racism. Journal of Counseling and Development, 1999. 774956, Google Scholar. 5. Asamoah Y. Innovations in Delivering Culturally Sensitive Social Work Services. New York, Haworth Press, 1996, Google Scholar. 6. Atkinson Dr., Morton G., CDW. Counseling American Minorities. 5. Boston, McGraw-Hill, 1998, Google Scholar. 7. BNRA, Bedell TM, Perry BJ. Developing Culturally Competent Marriage and Family Therapies. Guidelines for Working with Hispanic Families. Journal of Marital and Family Therapy, 2001. 274354, PubMed, Google Scholar. 8. Barry J. Acculturation as Varieties of Adaptation. In, Padilla A. Editor. Acculturation, Theory, Models, and Some New Findings. Boulder, CO, Westview Press, 1980, pages 9-25, Google Scholar. 9. Cabrera N.L., Padilla A.M. Entering and Succeeding in the Culture of College, The Story of Two Mexican Heritage Students. Hispanic Journal of Behavioral Sciences 2004. 26:152-170, Google Scholar. 10. Caldwell L.D., Iwamoto D.K., Tarver D., Hertzberg S. Defining Cultural Competency. From a Human Service Provider Perspective 2006. Manuscript submitted for publication, Google Scholar. 11. Kavanaugh M., Lopez M.A., Understanding the Latino Experience. Independent School, 2004. 63:2:96-104, Google Scholar. 12. Church W., Grossi, Baldwin J. Maybe Ignorance is Not Always Bliss, The Disparate Treatment of Hispanics Within the Child Welfare System, Children and Youth Services Review, 2005. 27:1279-1292, Google Scholar. 13. E Program Design and Planning Strategies in the Delivery of Culturally Competent Health and Mental Health Services to Latino Communities. In, Asamoah Y., Editor. Innovations in Delivering Culturally Sensitive Social Work Services. New York, Haworth Press, 1996, pages 164-182, Google Scholar. 14. Council on Social Work Education. Statistics on Social Work Education, 1998. Alexandria, VA, author, 1998, Google Scholar. 15. Escobar Lat. B.A., Low-skill immigration from Mexico to the United States. Current situation, prospects, and government policy. International migration 1999. 37:153-182. PubMed. Google Scholar 16. Fischelike, Franks P. Doser MP. Saver BG. Disparities in healthcare by race, ethnicity, and language among the uninsured. Medical care. 2002. 405259. PubMed. Google Scholar. 17. Foley S. Kidder DL. Howell GN. The Perceived Glass Ceiling and Justice Perceptions. An Investigation of Hispanic Law Associates. Journal of Management 2002. 28:471-496. Google Scholar 18. Furman R. Unpublished Doctoral Dissertation. Yeshiva University. 2002. Culturally Sensitive Social Work Education with Latinos. Google Scholar 19. Furman R. Vander K. Lewis C.W. Shears J. Faculty Perceptions of Curricular Deficits in Preparing Students for Practice with Latinos. Advances in Social Work 2006. 73343. Google Scholar 20. Furman R. Collins K. Culturally Sensitive Practices and Crisis Management. Social Constructionism as an Integrative Model. Journal of Police Crisis Negotiation 2005. 5:2:47-57. Google Scholar 21. Grantmakers in Health. In the Right Words, Addressing Language and Culture in Providing Health Care. Issue Brief Number 18. San Francisco. Author. 2003. PubMed. Google Scholar. 22. Gutierrez L. Yeakley A. Ortega are Educating Students for Social Work with Latinos. Issues for the New Millennium. Journal of Social Work Education 2000. 36:541-557. Google Scholar. 23. Hall G.C., Maloney H.N. Cultural Control in Psychotherapy with Minority Clients, Psychotherapy, Theory, Research, and Practice, 1983. 20:131-142, Google Scholar. 24. Hansen T.I., Austin G.A., Are Student Health Risks and Low Resilience Assets an Impediment to Academic Progress of Schools? California Healthy Kids Survey Fact Sheet 3 Los Alamitos, C.A., West Ed. 2003, Google Scholar. 25. Harper Cavey, Lance J. Cross-Cultural Practice, Social Work with Diverse Populations. Chicago. Lyceum Books. 1994, Google Scholar. 26. Hernandez, L.P., Lucero E. Days La Familia Community Drug and Alcohol Prevention Program, Family-Centered Model for Working with Inner-City Hispanic Families. Journal of Primary Prevention 1996. 16:255-272. PubMed, Google Scholar. 27. Holder J. Vox A. African American Professionals, Coping with Occupational Stress in Predominantly White Work Environments. Journal of Vocational Behavior 1998. 53:300-333. Google Scholar. 28. Holleran L.K., Waller M.A., Sources of Resilience Among Chicano Youth, Forging Identities in the Borderlands. Child and Adolescent Social Work Journal 2003. 25:23-38, Google Scholar. 29. Hops J.G., Deja Vu or New View, Editorial, Social Work 1988. 33:291-292, Google Scholar. 30. Ibrahim F.A., Roycerker Sodowski G., Onishi H. Worldview, Recent Developments and Needed Direction. In, Ponterado J.G., Casas J.M., Suzuki L., Alexander C.M., Editors. Handbook of Multicultural Counseling 2. Thousand Oaks, C.A., Sage Publications. 2001, pages 425-456, Google Scholar. 31. Eaglehart A.P., Becerra R.M., Social Services in the Ethnic Community. Boston, Allen and Bacon. 1995, Google Scholar. 32. Kaplan M.S., Marx G. Adverse Effects of Acculturation, Psychological Distress Among Mexican-American Young Adults. Social Science and Medicine 1990. 31:1319, PubMed. Google Scholar. 33. Lou W.M., Ali S.R., Addressing Social Class and Classism in Vocational Theory and Practice, Extending the Emancipatory Communitarian Approach. Counseling Psychologist. 2005. 33:189-196, Google Scholar. 34. Lumdy Social Work Practice and People of Color, A Process Stage Approach. Monterey, CA, Berks Cole. 1986, Google Scholar. 35. Momdi Glass Ceilings and Glass Escalators, Work and Occupations, 1999. 26:483-500. Google Scholar. 36. McGowan B.G., Helping Puerto Rican Families at Risk, Responsive Use of Time, Space, and Relationships. In, Jacob C. Bowles D.D., Editors. Ethnicity and Race, Critical Concepts in Social Work. Silver Spring, M.D., National Association of Social Workers. 1988, pages 48-70, Google Scholar. 37. Miranda A.O., Billet J.M., Peluso P.R., Berman K., Van Meek L.G., Latino Families, The Relevance of the Connection Among Acculturation, Family Dynamics, and Health for Family Counseling Research and Practice. Family Journal, Counseling and Therapy for Couples and Families, 2006. 14:268-273, Google Scholar. 38. National Association of Social Workers, NASW Code of Ethics, Washington, D.C., author. 1996, Google Scholar. 39. Negi Inje, Furman are Providing Social Services to Mexico USA Transmigrants, a Case Study of the Experiences of Social Service Providers. Journal of Poverty and Press, Google Scholar. 40. Norris F., Alegria and Mental Health Care for Ethnic Minority Individuals and Communities in the Aftermath of Disasters and Mass Violence, Siena Spectrums 2005. 10:132-140, PubMed. Google Scholar. 41. Akagaki L., Bojsike Perspectives on Asian American Development. In, Hall G.C. N., Okazaki S., editors. Asian American Psychology, The Science of Lives in Context. Washington, D.C., American Psychological Association. 2002, pages 67-104, Google Scholar. 42, Padilla A.M. Bicultural Social Development, Hispanic Journal of Behavioral Sciences, 2006. 28:467-497, Google Scholar. 43, Padilla A.M., Ruiz R.A., Alvarez are Community Mental Health Services for the Spanish-Speaking Surname Populations. In Atkinson D.R., Morton G., Sue D.W., editors. Counseling American Minorities, A Cross-Cultural Perspective. Dubuque, I.A., W.M. C. Brown, 1989, pages 167-198, Google Scholar. 44, Peacock M.J., McClure F., Agars M.D., Predictors of Delinquent Behaviors Among Latino Youth, Urban Review 2003, 355972, Google Scholar. 45, Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Reconciliation Act of 1996 PL, 104-193 XXX, 46, Poole D.L., Salgado D. Snyder V.N., Pathways to Health and Mental Health Care, Guidelines for Culturally Competent Practice. In Roberts A.R., Green G.J., editors. Social Workers Desk Reference. New York, Oxford University Press. 2002, pages 51-56, Google Scholar. 47, Pope Davis D.B., Ottavi T.M., Examining the Association Between Self-Reported Multicultural Counseling Competencies and Demographic Variables Among Counselors. Journal of Counseling and Development 1994. 72:651-654. Google Scholar. 48, Prillo H.M., Lucas A. The Role of Resource, Protective, and Risk Factors on Academic Achievement-Related Outcomes of Economically Disadvantaged Latino Youth. Journal of Community Psychology 2003. 31:513-529. Google Scholar. 49, Prize L. Determining the Causes and Durability of Transnational Labor Migration Between Mexico and the United States. Some Empirical Findings. International Migration 2004. 42, 2:3-39, Google Scholar. 50, Sale E. Sambrano S., Springer J., Peña C., Pan W., Casimar Family Protection and Prevention of Alcohol Use Among Hispanic Youth at High Risk. American Journal of Community Psychology, 2005. 36:195-205, PubMed, Google Scholar. 51, Sasson S. Global Cities and Diasporic Networks, Microsites in Global Civil Society. In Glazius M., Clatter M., and Here H., editors. Global Civil Society 2002. Oxford, England, Oxford University Press. 2002, pages 217-238, Google Scholar. 52, Schwartzbaum S. E. Low-Income Latinos and Dropout, Strategies to Prevent Dropout. Journal of Multicultural Counseling and Development, 2004. 32:296-306, Google Scholar. 53, Sinacorgan D. Addressing Prejudice, The Effects of Ethical Perspectives. Generations, 1998. 22, 3:40-45, PubMed, Google Scholar. 54, Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. Latino Hispanic Populations, 2006. Data File 2006. Available from Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration website, http://www.mentalhealth.samhsa.gov. 55, Sue D.W., Arredondo P., McDavis R.J. Multicultural Counseling Competencies and Standards, A Call to the Profession. Journal of Multicultural Counseling and Development, 1992. 20:64-88, Google Scholar. 56, Sue D.W., Sue D. Counseling the Culturally Different, Theory and Practice 2. New York, John Wiley & Sons. 1990, Google Scholar. 57, Taryn P.A., Human Rights of Migrants, Challenges of the New Decade. International Migration, 2001. 38, 6:7-51, Google Scholar. 58, Taylor B.A., Beatriz Gambord M., Rivera M., Laureano Deconstructing Cultural Competence Perspectives of Family Therapists Working with Latino Families. American Journal of Family Therapy 2006. 34:429-445, Google Scholar. 59, Torres L. Rolock The Acculturative Distress Among Hispanics, The Role of Acculturation, Coping, and Intercultural Competence. Journal of Multicultural Counseling and Development 2004. 32:155-167, Google Scholar. 60, U.S. Census Bureau. Hispanic Heritage Month 2005, September 15, October 15, 2006. Press release. Retrieved October 27, 2007, from census.gov/www/releases/archives/facts_for_features_special_features_fur_features_fefer.html. 61, Vega W., Amaro H. Lifetime Prevalence of DSM, III are Psychiatric Disorders Among Rural and Urban Mexican Americans in California, Archives of General Psychiatry 1998. 55:771-782, PubMed, Google Scholar. 62, Zia M.C., Asner Self K.K., Berman D., Buki L.P., The Abbreviated Multidimensional Acculturation Scale, Empirical Validation with 2 Latino-Latina Samples. Cultural Diversity and Ethnic Minority Psychology 2003. 9:107-126. PubMed, Google Scholar.